Coming to you from the TheEoNProject studios, perched high atop the banks of the majestic Blackstone River. Greetings from the jewel of the Blackstone Valley. You're listening to Experts of Nothing with Mike and Jay. Oh, hey there.
Hey, how you doing today?
What's going on, buddy?
Oh, it's been a while since our last show.
Yeah, what happened?
We had a break.
We had a little break.
Summertime.
Summer, we went on family adventures.
We went on a family adventure individually.
Yeah.
And then also we confluenced.
Right, unbeknownst
together.
to us, we happened to be in the same place at the same time.
Which is synchronicity at its best.
It was, yeah.
And, I wanted to discuss a little bit about that later.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we had a little bit of a break. We played a couple of our older shows. Well, one of our older shows.
We did, yeah.
A tribute to Mr. R. Gary Patterson, the rock and roll historian who passed away recently.
Great guy, fountain of rock and roll knowledge.
Yeah, and he was great guest on the show that we had a number of years ago. Very enlightening. We talked about the Beatles' death clues.
You know what was extra cool about him?
What's that?
He was very accessible.
Yeah,
because he's done world famous radio programs.
Yes.
He's done TV shows. He's written books. Mm-hmm. And I just emailed the guy, and he gave me his phone number, and I called him up.
Yeah,
and he was on the air.
Yeah, he was. That didn't take much at all.
That was cool.
I just want to apologize in advance. My voice is a little off this week. I'm feeling a little under the weather.
I was wondering why you sounded like Barry White.
But I'm soldiering on. Why do they call it under the weather? Is anyone's voice ever over the? Or is anyone feeling? I'm feeling over the weather.
Well, if you're
today.
under we're on Earth, right? So the weather usually is above us.
Yeah, if weather's below you, you're either in a plane,
right?
Or
so if you're under the weather's just coming down upon you.
Where did that phrase come from? I don't know.
But it's funny you mentioned that. When I was on vacation, there was a book of common everyday phrases and their origins.
Oh, those are always interesting to me.
In the vacation home, and I was reading it. It was interesting.
Were there any that stuck out to you that you can recall at this time?
No.
Oh,
okay.
I put you on the spot. I know.
You did.
Sorry about that.
So what are we talking about this week?
So this week we got a couple of different topics, and I don't think they could be even. They're not even related. Not even a little bit.
Not even close.
And so, just so everybody knows, this program we talk about a wide variety of things, and they usually come from a lot of different. They come from a lot of different areas, but we don't often coordinate what we're each going to talk about. We just tell the other person what our topic is going to be, and then we have a half and half show that are completely unrelated, which some people enjoy, some people don't. Some people find it distracting. They want a whole show about one topic.
Yeah.
But we feel that it provides more value if you have more than one topic.
And I think especially since we're not really experts on anything.
No.
It's difficult to keep people engaged for long periods of time on a certain topic when we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
No. Hey, before we begin into our topics, a little bit of show news. We recently learned this week we are truly now an international show. We were
That's
before,
true.
We were before. We had some listeners out in Europe. And in the Far East.
Yep.
But we learned that we have a bunch of listens in Chile.
Yes, the South American exotic country along the coast.
So if you are listening from Chile, hola amigos.
Chile. Is it Santiago, Chile?
Do they speak Spanish in Chile?
I believe they do.
Is it Chile or Chile?
It's yeah.
It's Chile.
It's warm today.
It has the accent aigu on the E.
I don't think that's called that in Spanish.
What's it called in Spanish?
Accent
Apostrophe.
No, I don't know.
Oh. Well, this week we got a couple of different topics. Jason is going to be discussing the Mothman.
The Mothman.
And I will be discussing the curious instances where serial killers contact the authorities or the press whilst in the midst of their crimes.
They do.
Which we're not going to discuss the serial killers themselves so much, other than the communications and perhaps why they're communicating. So I always found that to be fascinating.
That's interesting.
I'm going to talk a little bit about that today.
I think before we get going, though, I have a public service announcement for those of you out there.
Oh.
Something to keep in mind. So a lot of us have the new Bluetooth technology, right?
Yes.
Where, you can connect wirelessly through the ether to
That's always been scary to me.
different electronic devices, right?
It's just magic. It's like magical.
It is. It's bizarre, but it's convenient at the same time.
Sure.
So I have the Bluetooth connection in my vehicle, right?
Uh-huh.
Where you connect your phone and you can communicate via the speakers in the car and all that stuff.
Yeah, so like when a phone call comes in, it just you just speak into the air and
exactly,
it goes, okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
But something you need to be quite aware of when this is occurring is you need to know who you're talking to, and you need to know
That's always beneficial.
You need to know the volume at which you're speaking. So I've noticed that the speakers, people have a tendency when they're speaking on Bluetooth to crank it,
to yell real loud.
They turn the radio up so everything is blaring. You can hear it through the vehicle,
right?
And you can hear it on the outside.
So let me ask you this:
yeah.
if you turn the volume up, the call coming in is louder, but is your voice also as loud on the other end?
Oh, on the other end?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh.
They'd have to control that on the other end. But the reason I mention this is because I was going through a drive-through the other day, and I went to I was having a conversation prior. I was having a Bluetooth conversation on the phone prior to going to the menu board. I failed to mention to the person I was speaking with that I was going to be around other individuals. So as I answered the phone, and I'm proceeding from the menu board to the drive-through window.
You're in the purgatory between the menu board and the actual picking up of your food.
And as I'm rolling up to the window, and the person on the other end was just playing. They didn't realize I was around others, but I think they were just trying to be silly and say something silly. And they said something along the lines, and I'll clean it up a little bit, that I want to ravage your buttocks all night long. And it was a joke, but it was said in a more.
Are you sure that was a joke? Because knowing you, I don't think that's a joke.
It was said not so cleanly, so to speak.
Oh, so the denizens of the fast food establishment heard.
That's correct. She was handing me my beverage as this is occurring, and gave me a strange look.
You know, I'm going to tell you that is a public service announcement. Here's another one. Do you want to know how to get free beverages at fast food establishments?
Sure.
Here's what you do. All right. Don't do this.
Don't do it?
No, don't do this, but you could do it.
Okay.
So basically what you do is every time you go up and you order your food, let's say you order a combo meal, and you get a beverage with that. So you drive up and typically you hand your money. As you're handing your money, whether it's in the form of cash or a credit card, if you hand them a fake credit card or somebody else's credit card or an expired credit card or whatever, they give you the beverage right away whilst they process the sale.
Yeah.
You could just peel out and have a free beverage.
Well, here's what happens. That's happened to me before.
Oh.
And not intentionally. There was an issue with the card for some reason, or the machine that they were swiping the card with.
So you were already in possession of the beverage and your card did not go
I was
through.
in possession of the beverage, and I thought I was going to abscond with
That's
the
right,
beverage.
you're a thief.
She forced me to give it back.
Of course you have to give it back. You didn't pay for it.
I had taken possession of the beverage.
Did you take a
I
sip
already
out of it?
de-sheathed the straw.
It was out of its sheath.
And I inserted the straw into the beverage.
Well,
and
wow,
she made me give it back.
You've committed a theft act, sir.
A 5-cent beverage. She made me give it back, which she would probably was just going to
She
throw
threw it
out
away.
anyway.
Well, she's not going to. Well, who knows? If
Maybe they reused the cup. I don't
serve it
know.
to somebody else. I don't know.
That wasn't right.
Well, anyway, that's enough nonsense, intelligent tomfoolery for at least for now.
So the first topic of the day is a mysterious, enigmatic
I love the word enigmatic.
incident that occurred that's called the Mothman incident. It combines UFOs, paranormal
Yes.
events, psychological nonsense,
And time travel.
time travel,
all sorts
time
of stuff.
slippages, Men in Black.
Yes.
It's almost like a Hollywood movie, but it supposedly is real.
Wasn't it a Hollywood movie, though, with Richard Gere?
It was.
We're not going to mention the gerbil.
No.
Anytime anyone ever mentions Richard Gere, they mention the gerbil, which is a completely nonsense story, by the way, that never happened.
West Virginia, 1966. For 13 months, the town of Point Pleasant is gripped by a real-life nightmare, culminating in a tragedy that makes headlines around the world. Strange occurrences and sightings, including a bizarre winged apparition that becomes known as the Mothman, trouble this ordinary community. Can you believe it?
I can believe that voice is awesome. Keep going.
Mysterious lights are seen moving across the sky. Domestic animals are found slaughtered and mutilated, among other bizarre and strange occurrences. That's actually taken from the book The Mothman Prophecies by author John Keel, God rest his soul.
Thank you for citing that. I can't stand when people plagiarize.
No, I had to do that. I
You
can't steal.
You gotta.
I can't steal from a man who's long dead. That would be wrong.
No, his estate would come after you.
But anyway, so we're going to be discussing the Mothman.
Yeah.
And the Mothman was an incident that occurred in November of 1966 up until December of 1967. And it was a series of strange incidents that occurred with a winged, as I stated earlier, some sort of creature, a bizarre creature. And it initially started with some sightings, a couple animal disappearances, and the creature kind of ravaged the town and scared the folk.
It ravaged the animals. It did things to animals that we don't know why.
No, we don't know why. But the Mothman creature reportedly seen in the Charleston and Point Pleasant areas of West Virginia from November of 66 to December of 67, as I stated. And most observers describe this Mothman as a winged man-sized creature with large reflective eyes and a large moth wings.
Ooh, what you say, moth wings?
Like a moth.
Like, what's the difference? Oh, you mean like a butterfly?
Yeah, kind of, I guess. But it had large wings, and I think they were just looking for a cool name for it.
You know, you're absolutely right. I was just about to say, because they don't want to call it the Butterfly Man, because that doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound
Gnat
scary
Man,
at all.
not
Gnat,
cool.
Mosquito Man, Dragonfly Man. Dragonfly Man would be scary.
Actually, Batman was already taken, obviously, at that time. The Adam West Batman was on.
I think, you know what? I was going to mention this later, but maybe I'll mention it now. Wasn't there a Marvel character named or DC character named Mothman? Or the Moth or something like that? There's an obscure Batman. You know how they all have their own little universes?
Yeah.
There's an obscure character in Batman, I believe, is called the Moth or the Mothman.
Maybe
one of our listeners should correct me.
You should.
And send in a note.
So that creature was sometimes reported as having no head, with the eyes set into the chest. So they say that it kind of looked like just it all kind of blended together.
That's scary.
I don't think there was ever a sighting where they actually could make out any very specific features. It was more like a shadowy figure that moved about and had red glowing eyes. So one of the first incidences was on incidences or incidents? Incidents. I put an extra instances in there. On November 15th, 1966, two young married couples from Point Pleasant, that would be David and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Millette, were traveling late night in the Scarberry's car. They were passing the West Virginia Ordnance Works, which at the time was an abandoned World War II TNT factory.
Oh, they're passing an abandoned factory in the middle of the night. I think they were up to some shenanigans.
And as we all know, the things that happen at abandoned TNT factories.
That happens all the time.
About 7 miles north of Point Pleasant is where this incident occurred, and that's in a 2,500-acre wildlife management area called the McClintic Wildlife Management Area.
Again, they're going to an abandoned area.
Right, and they noticed two red lights in the shadows by an old generator plant near the factory gate. So they noticed two red lights kind of hovering and floating about. So they stopped the car, as any youthful, exciting adventure goers would do.
I wouldn't stop the car.
Why not?
Why would you?
Well, they were investigating.
Maybe one day we'll discuss the real life incident that you and I had as youths, where we encountered a paranormal-esque thing, and we did not stop.
We didn't stop.
No.
Well, we had to do a quick turn to get out of there.
Yeah, we'll discuss that another time. Sorry.
So the lights that were they thought the lights were coming from the red eyes of a large animal, and it was shaped like a man but bigger, maybe 6.5 or 7 feet tall, with wings folded against its back. And that was according to Roger Scarberry, who witnessed this. Now, it was the 60s, keep in mind.
A lot of drugs floating around.
A lot of strange hallucinogens.
Yep.
People would just clamber through the wilderness and eat bits of bark on the ground and see what would happen. So maybe that's what happened. I don't know. But I'm going to cite the book called Alien Animals by Janet and Colin Board. And they say a poltergeist attack on the Scarberry home occurred later that night, during which the creature was seen several times. So apparently it was stalking the Scarberries from their initial encounter
so it
with
followed
the
them
animal.
home.
Yes.
So when you say poltergeist attack, like things flying through
Things
the
flying
air.
about,
Yeah.
Unexplained things moving around.
Interesting.
Things of that sort. But, obviously the word of the creature spread quickly because the Scarberries, they went ahead and started telling people what they saw. And so on the 16th of November, the townspeople were armed with various weaponry, and they began looking for the creature.
Like pitchforks. And
Yeah, it
torches
sounds
and
like
stuff.
a Frankenstein movie.
Yes. They must go get the monster. Mm-hmm. Why do they always pick pitchforks? I know that, not too many pitchforks lying around these days. You can find one in antique stores every once in a while.
I guess it just goes to the, the farmer, the average everyday man.
I suppose.
So Mr. and Mrs. Raymond Wamsley and Mrs. Marcella Bennett, with her infant daughter, Tina, in tow, were in a car en route to visit their friends near the TNT plant. Again, going to the TNT plant for some reason.
Why is a TNT plant in the route of everyone?
I don't know.
It's like on the way.
But the creature, it must have been his home.
Sure.
His lair, if you will.
If you have a lair, that means you're either a monster or an evil genius.
How do you say it, though?
Lair.
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 They were heading back to their car when a figure appeared behind their parked vehicle. Why were they parked? Who knows?
They were up to shenanigans, I told you.
Mrs. Bennett said that it seemed that it had been lying down, slowly rising up from the ground.
He was drunk.
Large and gray with glowing red eyes.
Again, he was drunk.
Again, yes. Glowing red eyes is a distinct feature of the Mothman.
Yes.
So at this point, he's just kind of scaring people.
Right.
Hasn't really done anything much yet. But Wamsley, she phoned the police because she was frightened, obviously. The creature walked onto her porch and peered at them through the window.
That's scary. I don't like it when things peer into a house and look at you. That's scary to me.
You scare folks, because I think you do that, don't you?
not in my adulthood. No.
So as a youth, would you experiment with neighborhood stalking?
Well, it's not stalking when you're under 18.
Oh, okay.
It's youthful shenanigans.
So your juvenile record is sealed.
It's been expunged.
On November 24th of that same year, 4 people reported seeing the creature flying over the TNT area again. So it seems to me that they need to do something about the TNT area. Maybe
Yes.
drop some ordnance on it or something.
Oh, it's a TNT area. It would go up without much problem.
That's true. On the morning of November 25th, Thomas Urey, who was driving along Route 62 just north of the TNT factory, again, claimed to have seen the creature standing in a field.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
yeah.
Wasn't there a musical group in the 1990s called the TNT Factory?
That was CNC Music Factory.
Oh, and they sang the Everybody Dance Now song.
Pause, take a breath, and go for yours.
I wonder
My
if
command, now hit the dance floor. Yeah, that was
Beautiful.
them.
I wonder if it's related to this at all. I'm sorry. Continue.
CNC and TNT?
TNT and CNC.
Oh, maybe we should start a band and call it the CNC TNT Factory.
Or the TNC Factory.
Oh, the TNA
To
Factory.
Mix them up.
Oh,
Continue.
yeah. So they claim to have seen the creature standing in a field, and then it spread its wings and flew alongside his car as he sped toward the Point Pleasant Sheriff's Office.
Oh.
So clearly he has no regard for authority.
No.
They're going to the police. He's still flying
He's gonna
alongside
fly
of the car.
alongside. Maybe he wants to file a complaint.
Maybe he does. Maybe he wants to file a complaint against these people that are bothering him
We're going into the TNT Factory.
in his home.
Up to no good, I tell you.
I'm drinking a warm hot tea today, and it's
see
a
that.
warm day.
You know what? Let's give a plug to the wonderful people at Dunkin' Donuts who are not a sponsor of this show.
They're not.
But they provide some delicious beverages that get us through these broadcasts.
They do, and the majority of the time they're relatively friendly, but sometimes they get angry at you.
If you order more than one thing, they get angry.
Yeah, like at the drive-thru,
Yes.
you try to order a sandwich
No,
or something.
you can't do that.
No, they don't like that.
No, you can only order one thing. Otherwise, you start getting the... And then they get mad, and then they start throwing things around, and then next thing you know, your Big and Toasted has some things in it that are not supposed to be in there.
So on November 26th, Mrs. Ruth Foster of Charleston, West Virginia, which is not too far from there, reportedly saw Mothman standing on her front lawn.
Oh, he's just standing there.
He's just standing there. He was checking out the green grass.
He was there to read the meter.
But the creature was gone by the time her brother-in-law went out to investigate it. Further, on the morning of November 27th, the creature allegedly pursued a young woman near Mason, West Virginia, and was reported again in St. Albans the same night by 2 children. So now you wonder if
Lots of different sightings.
You wonder if it's just now the word has gotten out, right? And so people
copycats and
people are seeing things
Sure.
That may not necessarily be there.
right.
So what do you think's going on? What do you think it is? What do you think's happening now?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said what you said about now that word has gotten out because then people start attributing everything that they see that's out of the ordinary. And you've lived in the woods before. You've lived in rural areas, and there's things in the woods. There's animals. There's as you said, wandering drunks high on mushrooms. Who knows what it is wandering through the woods? But they automatically transfer the characteristics of the sighting that they heard about onto what they just saw.
Right. So
a lot of times that leads to those things.
some people think that the origins of the Mothman, in which we're going to get to the main tragedy that occurred associated with the Mothman, but a lot of people think that the Mothman incidents were I keep saying it. Incident.
It's incidents. Stop it.
Okay. Was caused or initiated by excuse me, I have something in my throat there.
I see that.
By a curse of a Native American who was wronged by the white man back in the 1770s.
Weren't they all?
Yeah. So his Native American name, which I'm not really sure of because I can't pronounce it, something like Hoskalosqua.
That sounds about right.
His Americanized name would have been Cornstalk.
Oh, that's a cool name.
And Cornstalk was
Cornstalk.
he was a prominent leader of the Shawnee Nation just prior to the American Revolution. So Cornstalk, he opposed European settlement, obviously, of the Ohio River in his youth, but later he became an advocate for peace. Mm-hmm. So one day, Cornstalk, he was going about his day and thought he'd make a nice diplomatic visit to Fort Randolph to try to broker peace between the natives and the Americans. So what did the Americans do?
They shot at him.
Well, no, they took him hostage.
Yeah, they do that.
They captured him, and he was detained by the fort commander, and then
That's not very nice.
apparently, at some point, some Indians were killed, or excuse me,
They trying to rescue him.
excuse me, Indians killed some white men.
Oh.
So they took out their frustrations on Cornstalk
Oh no.
and his son Elinskipako
Oh him.
and 2 other Shawnees,
Oh,
and they killed them.
that's not.
They
nice.
killed them at the fort. But supposedly, and Cornstalk in his dying breath cursed the area, cursed the Point Pleasant area there in West Virginia and Ohio, that particular part of the Ohio River Valley. And because of that, years later, the Mothman manifested itself due to the curse of Cornstalk.
Do you know what the substance of the curse was? Like, did he say?
He said, "You will be forever cursed
by a curse."
By me, Cornstalk.
That's about right.
That's about it.
That sounds.
No,
like,
I don't have the Shawnee translation.
Ladies
in
and
front
gentlemen, that is a traditional Native American curse. You'll be cursed by me, Cornstalk.
of me. Yeah. So, and he's buried right there, by the way.
Oh.
By right near the bridge that we're going to talk about here shortly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting so far.
It is.
Anything that can be related to a Native American curse is always interesting. There's lots of those floating around.
There's lots of them. And you know what? You know what also I find is an interesting phenomenon amongst people is that everyone thinks, if you talk to every person, they think that they have a Native American ancestor.
Everybody does.
Everybody's part Indian.
But I know some legitimate Native American folks who are very, very proud. They're very proud people.
Yes.
But as you state, I think everybody thinks that they have Native American in their ancestry, and a lot of them don't.
That's true. And you know, I going back to, and we're going to do a show on DNA at some point. But, you know, there was always that story in my family that we had a Native American princess in our family, and that story perpetuated for generations.
Is that why they call you princess?
They do. They call me Princess Ticky Tacky. So I went ahead and took a couple DNA tests from competing companies.
Yeah, didn't we discuss that before?
Just briefly. But guess what? Guess how much percentage Native American I am?
I don't remember.
0.
Oh,
both tests showed I'm 0%.
So it's an old family legend that it turns out not to be true.
Well, if there was one, it got diluted enough to the point where it did.
That's pretty diluted because doesn't it pick up? Something very, very minuscule.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say that
no Native American,
not in my blood anyway.
That's too bad. It doesn't necessarily. It's not a negative thing, you know, that you don't have that in your blood.
No. I mean, everybody has their own history.
You have to be you, man.
You got to be unique.
You can't be you. You can't be anybody but you.
That's true. So one of the main disasters that's associated with the Mothman is that after his reign of terror for the year, where he was killing dogs and
let me
scaring
stop
people.
You for a minute.
Yeah.
So in all this reign of terror that you just said, was there any injuries to humans? Were there any physical attacks?
Well, there was one lady, the lady that I talked about earlier with the child Tina, that apparently dropped her child.
Oh.
She saw the Mothman. She got scared.
That's not the Mothman's fault.
She dropped her child and ran. And as we all know,
did she throw the child at the Mothman as some sort of sacrifice?
Either that or she was trying to fend him off. I don't know.
No.
But
when you wing a baby at something,
we all know that dropping a child is never good.
No.
And so she must have truly been frightened.
Sure.
There was some, like I said, there was some animal mutilations. There was a guy named Merle Partridge, who
of the Partridge family.
He was one of the early witnesses to the Mothman. Apparently, the Mothman came. He heard some noise. He went outside. He saw the Mothman. He got scared.
Oh.
His dog was out there. He ran in the house, left his dog out. Left the dog to fend for itself.
There's a common denominator in all of these stories. Everyone is a coward.
So Merle ran inside, grabbed his shotgun.
Oh, he went to go grab a gun.
He did. He barricaded himself in his house, and then he stayed there all night. And then when he went out looking for his dog again, it was gone.
The dog was missing.
And then I think like a week later, there was a mutilated dog found on the side of the road.
Was it that dog or another dog?
It could have been Merle's dog. Could have been another dog. Who knows?
You know what? This whole thing sounds like it's an animal. Because like a bear or like some sort of large mammal.
Well, that was one of the theories, is that it was just the misidentification of a known animal.
When you think about the circumstances, you know, it's an animal that's attacking other animals. Most wild animals don't attack humans unless the human is threatening to it or to its young or something like that.
True. They said that some people thought that maybe it was the misidentification of a sandhill crane.
A crane, like a bird?
Yeah.
I don't think sandhill cranes eat dogs.
I don't know if you could. I don't know if you could confuse the two. Could you?
Probably not.
Especially if it's flying along the side of your car and it's like trying to attack you.
Maybe there's a species of flying bear that we're just not Imagine that. Flying grizzly bears. I wouldn't leave the house.
No.
You imagine that? Flying grizzly bears?
You know what's even worse than that?
What's that?
Sharknado.
Yeah, that would be bad. I wouldn't leave the house for Sharknadoes either.
No. So on December 15th, 1967, towards the end of the reign of terror of the Mothman, the Mothman was obviously, like I said, he was spotted several times that year. And there was a bridge that it spanned the Ohio River, connecting West Virginia and Ohio. This was called the Silver Bridge. And on that day and date of 1967, there was a tragedy that occurred. The bridge was choked with traffic. People going from one side to the other, traveling
It's a
about,
popular bridge.
getting back and forth, getting across the river, because they weren't using barges to get traffic across. So the people were traveling, going about their day, and then suddenly the Silver Bridge collapsed.
Ooh.
It collapsed under the weight of all the vehicles and people. Apparently there was a fault in a structural fault that caused the collapse, but people believe that the Mothman brought upon it's going back to Cornstalk's curse.
Oh, so the Mothman caused the structural damage to the bridge.
Possibly.
Or isn't it possible that the Mothman, in its sightings, and given the fact that it didn't harm any people, was actually trying to warn people about the impending
That's an interesting theory.
damage?
It's an interesting take on that.
Yes, and then that's why the Mothman was there as a harbinger of doom and also a warning.
Why couldn't he just rent one of those planes that you see flying in the sky that have the banners
The
behind
banner,
them?
yeah, you don't see those too much at the beach. You see them.
Yeah, you see those a lot. Do you think they're effective advertising?
People look up. I know I
They
do.
look up, but do you ever
Do I ever go to? I don't.
you ever go to Pete's Taco Stand or something like that?
I'm not a big fan of advertising in general. As a matter of fact, if something is irritating, like if there's a commercial that's irritating, I will purposely never go to that establishment.
Yeah. You know what's an annoying commercial? And if you're in the area, if you're in this local area, you'll know what I'm talking about. It comes on the radio. It's the commercial for the Block Island Ferry.
Oh, the Block Island
He's
Ferry,
like,
yes.
come away to Block Island.
And it's like some sort of pseudo.
Yeah, like it's a
reggae-
calypso
yes,
song, and
yes.
you're like, and the steel drum is playing, and you're like, what are you doing?
You can't tell if it's a woman or a kid.
This is New England. This is Block Island. It's not,
It's not
the Caribbean.
tropics. No,
it's not.
No,
It's
you're
annoying.
absolutely right. And as a result, I will never go to Block Island.
And the Block Island Ferry is not something you want to be upon either. I've
never been on the Block
It's
Island
crowded. It smells like diesel fuel.
Ooh.
It's there's drunken folks everywhere.
I've been on the Long Island Ferry, which is actually really nice. The Long Island Ferry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it takes you all the way from Connecticut to Long Island. Saves the traffic from driving all the way. You know, if you had to go to Long Island,
Right.
for
You have to
something.
go all the way through Connecticut and around the tip.
That's
there.
correct. You got to go through the city.
Yeah.
But if you take the ferry, you don't have to.
Oh, so you drive your car right on the boat, huh?
So yes. So if the Long Island Ferry is listening, we are accepting sponsorships on this show.
So 46 people died on the
That's
the
not
Silver Bridge collapse, and only actually 2 people were never recovered. They recovered 44 of the bodies. So 2 people somehow got swept away.
That's terrible.
Or perhaps the Mothman came and took them back to his lair.
Interesting.
Yep.
So that's the end of the Mothman.
So what are some of the theories, though? What do you think?
Again, I feel like based on what you've discussed and what I knew about the Mothman going into it, that it's probably an animal, a large animal that's probably not often found in that area, and as you said, misidentified. As you well know, that at night, certain animals' eyes reflect light,
Of course, yeah.
and can sometimes appear red or yellow or some sort of weird color. Cats, when you see a cat, in a tree line or something like that at night, it looks like you don't know what that is.
Yeah,
You see the eyes.
That sounds reasonable, but I tend to believe that it was Cornstalk.
Yep.
I think it was Cornstalk coming back from the beyond,
To take revenge for his unfortunate nickname.
from the great beyond, and he was taking out his frustrations after years of lingering in purgatory, and finally came to be and scared the people.
There's a lot more to this story than we've had time to discuss today. As a matter of fact, if you've ever seen the Mothman Prophecies movie, which is a terrible movie, by the way,
It's not good.
and it's got all sorts of time slips and confusing
Right.
visuals, and it's just not a good movie.
But apparently there were some Men in Black sightings, and we're not talking about the Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith terrible Aliens movie from the 90s.
which would have been more fun.
But that phenomenon goes back before the movie. Actually, that's where the movie got its title from, I believe.
Yeah. Well, the Men in Black have been associated with UFO sightings for years, and that goes back
Right.
to the 40s.
So there were some at least 1 or 2 known Men in Black sightings in the Point Pleasant area during that time.
Just a quick take on that. I know
Yeah.
the show's not about the Men in Black, but I've done a lot of reading and research on the Men in Black. In all likelihood, Men in Black is probably just a generic term that they give to investigators from the government. If you've ever met investigators from the government, they're all very similar.
Right.
They have very professional mannerisms. They obviously they dress nicely because they're trying to look professional, and the way they go about their business is very matter-of-factly. And I think that has translated into they're creepy Men in Black. Could they be aliens? Could they be whatever? I think they're just people that are looking into things that are going on,
I see.
and they're just that's what they're taking.
That makes
at,
sense.
You know,
But they always say they tell people, hey, don't tell people that you spoke with us. Don't tell people
Well,
you
that's
saw
what they
us.
say. They say.
Yeah,
Who knows what
supposedly.
they're actually saying?
Who knows? Maybe they're door-to-door vacuum salesmen.
Brush salesman.
Could
I
be.
had a door-to-door salesman the other day.
I hope you told them to go.
You know what's
Pound
funny?
sand.
I consider myself a nice person. Would you say I'm a nice person?
No, you're off.
No, I'm
you're
not
angry.
really nice. But anyway, but when people come to your door and they're trying to sell you something, I try to be nice, and I'm never gonna buy anything that somebody brings to my door. Never. But I try to be nice about it and say, no, thank you, I'm not interested. But the people, they refuse to take no for an answer.
They do.
They stand there and keep you talking, and eventually I lose patience and start, look, dude, you need to go.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting antsy with you standing here.
So normally I will never answer the door, but
They see, what do? You hide? You hide underneath the windows?
I stand there. The door's closed.
Oh,
and
you
I
just
stand
stand
there
there?
and I stare at them through the door. But
Does that work?
no, a couple of years ago, right? So we're coming back from a vacation, and it was a long trip, and I had a lot of supplies in my vehicle, and I was unloading the vehicle. So I was a busy character, and I seen a guy coming down the street. He looked a bit shady, but he was going door to door trying to sell certain things, right?
Yep.
So of course he comes up to me as I'm unloading my my accoutrement
He was trying to be very personable.
back into the house. Yeah. No, at first he started out nice, but then when I told him no, thank you, I'm not interested, and then he kept pursuing it. I said, listen, bud, nice try, but I'm good, right?
Yep.
So he
didn't take the cue.
No, he starts to storm away down the street, but as he does, he turns and he starts cursing at me.
What?
And he's calling me names,
you kidding?
names I can't repeat here on the Eon Project.
Wow. I'm sure you've been called worse.
So, and he started to get real angry, but he continued in a forward direction. So I went ahead and called the authorities.
Oh.
So the
Narc.
the police showed up at my house, and I told him what he did, right? So apparently he didn't have a permit to be going door to door.
So my next question was going to be, don't you need a permit these
do.
days to do that, right?
You do. So what they did was they took the young man and they put him in the back of their vehicle and they drove him to a seedy section of another town and dropped him off.
They didn't beat him first?
Nope, they didn't beat him.
They didn't put the boots to him
So
before
I don't
they
know
let
what
him out?
happened to that guy, but
He never came back.
he didn't come back.
So you got what you wanted.
So here we are once again at the halfway point of the show, 32 minutes and counting, actually, as I look at my timer.
Oh.
And we always like to do change things up. We like to do a little segment in the middle of the show to kind of break up the different topics at hand.
We break up the topics all the time.
We do break them up. So we always like to try different things. We've done some readings. We've done some musical numbers.
Personals from Maine.
We've done some personals from Maine. So this one is kind of along the lines. But as we stated earlier on previous episodes, we're cultured men here. And so what we're going to do with this bit is we're going to combine two of our favorite things. We really enjoyed the movie and the book 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, yes.
Because we're considerate lovers. Not to each other, of course.
Not to each other, no. To other people.
Yeah. Wives.
we think.
Our wives.
Yes.
Not someone else's.
No. Our own individual wives that stay with us.
That's correct. So we enjoy the 50 Shades of Grey, but we also harken back to a time in our lives, childhood, if you will, when we enjoyed playing the game Mad Libs. Do you remember the Mad Libs game?
Oh, I love Mad Libs. Mad Libs was terrific.
Yeah. So it's where you have like a paragraph or something, and then you have to fill in certain words.
Like you just ask somebody, do a noun, and then they give you a noun. And
That's
then,
correct.
In the end, you end up with some sort of gibberish.
That's right.
Yes.
So what we're doing here today on the Eon Project is we're going to do our own version of this, and it's going to be called 50 Shades of Mad Libs. All right.
All right.
So what I'm going to do is I have a little paragraph here. If you hear my papers rustling, I apologize, but I'm just trying to get situated here.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through. I'm going to ask Mike some different words that he's going to give me, different nouns.
And this is not rehearsed.
This is not rehearsed.
No, I didn't even know we were going to do this.
Nope.
So this is good.
So as we go down here, you just give me whatever the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
And then once it's done, I'm going to go ahead and read what we came up with.
Sounds good.
All right. So give me a body part.
Leg.
Oh, leg. Oh, okay. Give me an adjective.
Sultry.
Ooh. Is that an adjective?
Yes.
Okay. Give me a noun.
A noun. House.
House. Interesting. Give me another body part.
Toe.
Oh, no. I don't like that word.
I know.
Noun.
Television.
Television. Okay. Oh, another body part.
Finger.
Oh, I like the way that sounds. How about a verb ending in S?
A verb ending in S. Runs.
Oh, you had the runs this morning, didn't you?
Nope. Not today.
Another body part.
Not the body part. There's too many body parts.
There's a few more.
I would say eyeball.
Eyeball. That could be erotic. Another body part.
Eyebrow.
Oh, I get you. I see where you're going with this. Give me a verb.
A verb. Hit.
Hit. How about another body part?
Foot.
And I need an adjective. Something to describe something.
Smelly.
Smelly.
I hope
And
this is going to be good.
I hope this is good.
This isn't good
This
radio.
is a lot of work. I need another noun. Give me a noun.
Another noun. Guitar.
Oh, where'd you get that from?
I have no idea.
All right. I need a verb ending in ing.
A verb ending in ing.
Yeah.
Swimming.
Swimming. Okay. An adjective.
An adjective. Dumb.
Describe. Okay. Body part again.
Again.
Almost done.
Hand.
Hand. A verb ending in s.
Verb ending in it. A verb ending in s. How about
Anything.
anything? Swings.
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 And a level of intensity.
A level of intensity. Violent.
Ooh, okay. All right, so here we go.
Here we go. The Mad Libs.
50 Shades of Mad Libs.
Here we go.
Let me put my sultry voice on.
Yes.
Suddenly he grabs me, tipping me across his leg. With one sultry movement, he angles his house so my toe is resting on the television beside him. He throws his right finger over both mine and runs his left eyeball on the small of my eyebrow,
That's disturbing.
holding me down so I cannot hit.
That's true.
He places his foot on my smelly guitar, softly swimming me, stroking around and around his dumb palm. And then his hand is no longer there, and he swings me violently.
Ooh.
Whoa.
That's great.
Yeah.
I don't like the eyebrow on the eyeball.
You didn't like the eyeball on the eyebrow?
No, it's a disturbing visual.
How about the voice, though? Should I have done
The
it
voice
more
was
like a
good.
lady voice?
No. Your androgynous voice is perfect for that.
So you couldn't tell if I was
No,
a
man,
baritone woman or a...
Nope, could be anything.
Oh.
Okay. Well, now that little nonsense is over, we're going to move to the second half of our program. And that's going to be, we're going to be discussing a phenomenon that I've found interesting for the past many, many years. And that's going to be that certain, specifically serial killers, will contact authorities or the press during their crime spree.
Yes.
So I'm not talking about, and there's an important distinction here, and that's a lot of killers throughout the years, throughout history, have left clues on purpose for the police to find.
Right.
In some sort of weird challenge to the police to find them or whatever. I'm not discussing that. I'm discussing when they actually take the step of contacting people outside, contacting the authorities, either by letters or by calling or whatever the case may be, while their crime spree is taking place.
Right.
So that's a very unique phenomenon. Why do they do that? Why would somebody call and taunt the police or taunt the authorities, or what's behind all that?
Are you asking me, or
No, that's just a
rhetorical?
rhetorical question.
Gotcha.
Don't jump ahead.
Okay.
So throughout the years, killers have seen fit to contact law enforcement and media after their crimes and had some sort of weird fascination with it. So we're going to discuss a few of them. Some of them you probably know, and some of you may never have heard of. We're not going to get into the killings themselves, but more the contacting that they're doing during their crime spree.
Yep.
So why do they do it? What's in it for them, and how does it turn out for them? So probably one of the most famous serial killers of all time was also one who contacted the police, and that's going to be Jack the Ripper.
Oh, yes.
We're going to discuss Jack the Ripper a little bit. So perhaps the most famous killer to taunt police with correspondence would have been Jack the Ripper. The still unknown killer was attributed with at least 5 deaths in London's Whitechapel district over several months in 1888 and 1889.
Yeah, so that could be, obviously we're only going to delve a little bit into it, but that could be a whole show on its own.
Of course, all of these could be a whole
Yeah.
show. We're just going to discuss a little bit about the case and a little bit about what they did. So this all started soon after the murders began. Multiple people began writing letters to police claiming to be the killer. Again, I'm not discussing the crimes. I'm just discussing the people there. Most of these letters were deemed to be fake, either by crazy people or journalists looking to get a big story, that sort of thing. But one letter in particular was singled out for potentially being genuinely from the killer. So, because of a few different reasons. Number one, it was received after two of the murders. Well, let's say, just to give you a time frame, it was received after two of the murders and about a month after the first murder happened. Mm-hmm. It's actually become known as the Dear Boss letter. Have you ever heard of this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to read the whole letter, although I do have a transcript of it.
Oh.
I'm going to read parts of it. And it's called the Dear Boss letter because it's addressed to Dear Boss.
Yes.
This was received by a newspaper at the time. Mm-hmm. So it's entitled, Dear Boss, I keep hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. Going on. I love my work and I want to start again. You will soon be hear of me in my funny little games. I have saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with, but it went thick like glue and I can't use it. Obviously, he's referring to blood.
Correct. He collected the blood.
That's right. Red ink is a good enough fit. Ha ha. He added ha ha. He's a comedian.
He didn't do LOL?
No. So here's where it gets interesting. So the next job I do, I shall clip the lady's ears off and send to the police officers just for jolly. Wouldn't you? No, I wouldn't because that's sick. Keep this letter back. Here's what's important. Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work, then give it out straight. So he's basically saying, hold on to this letter.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something to prove that this letter
exactly.
is
He wants to prove that he's the one that's actually sending this. It's not a hoax.
Correct. And then he signs it, yours truly, Jack the Ripper. That's where the name Jack the Ripper came from. It was from this Dear Boss letter. Before that, it was just known as the Whitechapel Murderer or something.
You know, I find that interesting because a lot of the modern serial killers are given names by other people.
That's correct.
This guy gave himself a name.
He gave himself a name.
And boy, he picked a good one.
Well, Dennis Rader ended up giving himself a nickname to the BTK killer.
Bind, Torture, Kill?
Yeah, we're going to discuss him very briefly later, but not too much. So what's interesting about the letter, obviously, like I said, it's the first time that he gave himself a name, Jack the Ripper, but also because he says, keep this letter back until I do a bit more work. 4 days after the Dear Boss letter, a postcard was sent to the Central News Agency in London in what's believed to be the same handwriting as the first one, saying, I was not codding, which I guess means kidding, codding. He was not a good speller either.
Oh.
Dear old boss, when I gave you the tip, you will hear about Saucy's Jack work tomorrow. Double event this time. So the day after this letter, this postcard was received, excuse me, the day before this postcard was received was the double event murder. There was 2 murders attributed to Jack the Ripper. So here you have not only a reference to the first letter using the same terminology, but also taking credit for the double murder the day before.
Yes.
So you have basically the postcard that he sent validated the first letter. So now the police think that they're dealing with the actual killer because they have a number of similarities between the two.
And they correspond with each other.
Correct.
Yeah.
But most grossly, out of all of this, on October 16th of 1888, George Lusk, the president of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee, received a cardboard box in the mail. Inside was half a human kidney, preserved in wine, along with the following letter. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's a little bit. Along with the kidney, there was this letter. So the medical analysis said that the kidney was very similar to one that was removed from Catherine Eddowes, one of the victims of the double event that I just discussed. But the findings were not conclusive because back in those days they didn't have DNA. And
right, no scientific testing, all rudimentary stuff.
They couldn't tell exactly where it came from. But the letter that was with the kidney said was addressed from hell, which there was actually a Johnny Depp movie called From Hell, which is not a bad movie.
That wasn't too bad.
It's okay, about Jack the Ripper. And it's addressed from hell. Mr. Lusk, sir, I send you half the kidney I took from one woman and preserved it for you. The other piece I fried and ate it.
Oh.
This is disgusting. So, signed, Catch Me When You Can, Mr. Lusk. So, again, you have... I think the purpose of this killer sending the correspondence was to say, I'm the killer. Here's evidence. This is proof that I did it. Here's...
So he's taunting the authorities. He's basically saying, hey, try to catch me if you can.
That's correct. So after this letter, and actually soon after the letter stopped, no more victims were attributed to the Ripper. But to this day, no one has been proven to be the killer, although there's no shortage of suspects. There's a million suspects, and every once in a while you'll see on TV that they'll say, oh, Jack the Ripper case solved.
Yeah.
It's never solved, and as a fan of the genre, there's actually a term for people who are interested in the Jack the Ripper case. They're called Ripperologists, which is a pretty cool name, I think. There's been suspects for, since it happened, and there's been no conclusive evidence either way that some people said it was an American that was over there on business or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, they're trying now. The big thing is they're trying to tie H.H. Holmes into being
correct.
the Ripper.
That's correct. Although, thinking forensically, it's probably unlikely just because the method of operation of H.H. Holmes was not a direct contact of stabbing and using a knife
Right.
on their victims like the Ripper was. He was more into the gassing and poisoning and from afar. So it's not easy for killers to go from one to the other. They're
Right.
either this type of killer or they're another type.
Yeah.
So that's probably not likely, in my opinion. I'm not an expert.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a Jack the Ripper book over here on the shelf behind us. Called basically, "Case Closed" is kind of a bit of the title there.
Yes.
And the book is compelling and it makes a good case, but they rely on DNA evidence, which
Okay.
I don't get how they have anything to compare it
Well,
to.
I think probably what they compare it to is the letters. So they look at if there was saliva used to seal.
Right, they did.
letters.
Supposedly, they did collect saliva from the envelopes, but
Not
you need
conclusive,
something to
though.
compare it to, though. Like you could lick an envelope all
Correct.
day long,
Right, it doesn't matter.
Unless I compare it to you personally,
know.
I won't know if it matches you.
Well, no, but they can compare it to suspects that they may have. So, like, let's say they suspect it's H.H. Holmes. They can go to H.H. Holmes' body and take a DNA sample.
Possibly.
Anyway, but hasn't happened yet, as far as I know. So that's Jack the Ripper. He contacted the police, and he was kind of a dirtbag.
Yeah.
So moving on. Have you ever heard of the Axeman of New Orleans? And I'm not talking about somebody who's really good at the guitar. It was some people.
Oh, is
sometimes-
that Robert Johnson? Wasn't he the Axeman of New Orleans?
No.
Oh no, wait, he was from
He was from
the
Mississippi.
Mississippi Delta.
Yeah. No, the Axeman of New Orleans, which is a fascinating case if anybody wants to do any research on it. So, between 1918 and 1919, 6 people were brutally murdered in New Orleans by someone who came to be known as the Mad Axeman of New Orleans. Essentially, somebody was breaking into homes by using a chisel, and they were removing the door panels. You know how, like, doors have panels on them?
Oh yeah.
He was taking a chisel, removing the door panels, and then using an axe to kill his victims while they slept and escape into the night. The attacks left panic in their wake. People began to see the attacker in every shadow and around every corner. Some described him as being a tall, thin man, while others claimed that he was a man dressed in women's clothes, which is scary. Was it you?
Oh, could have been.
Still others claimed that the killer was a woman, or that it was a man but was a midget, because they were able to get into such small spaces.
Ah, so they carve a little hole and they crawl through
That's
there.
correct. That's how he was getting into people's houses.
I'll tell you what, a killer axe-wielding midget.
That's scary as hell.
That is scary.
I don't want any part of that.
Yee.
Otherwise, how could they fit through the small hole, as I said? Others whispered even stranger tales that perhaps the killer was not of this earth. A vengeful spirit, perhaps, or even the devil himself come to earth to punish New Orleans for its sins.
Yeah, we all know the things that go on down there.
Creepy enough, right? But this killer also sent letters to the police.
Why not?
Actually, this one didn't go to the police. It went to the media.
Oh,
And it was addressed, again, from hell, March 13th, 1919. And it's addressed, and this one is actually, I can't read the whole thing because it's a very long, and this letter was written by somebody who had a very, their bent was very mysterious into the occult, and it references a lot of esoteric subjects and stuff, and I'm not going to get into all of that, but it's addressed to esteemed mortal,
oh,
meaning that he's probably not immortal.
yeah.
Right? They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible. Even as the ether that surrounds your earth, I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. So he's acknowledging that he's the Axeman.
And he's trying to build himself up
That's correct.
more than he is to
That's
frighten people even more.
Yes. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know who they shall be. I shall leave no clue except for my bloody axe besmeared with blood and brains of he whom I have sent below to keep me company. So this references an ancient belief that some people have, that if you kill somebody, whether it's in battle or murder or whatever the case may be, they become your servants in the afterlife. Have you ever run across this theory before?
No, but I'll tell you what, I just heard a word that isn't used nearly enough anymore.
What's that?
Besmeared.
Besmeared. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't hear that too much. So again, the letter is long and lengthy, and I won't read the whole thing, but this is an interesting part. So he continues. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, again insinuating that he's not of this earth, next Tuesday night, I'm going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I'm going to make a little proposition for you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions.
Neither, like below the belt?
That's what I thought.
Oh.
Every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have mentioned. if everyone has a jazz band going, well, then so much the better for you people.
It's like the jazz version of Passover.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
One thing is certain. That is some of you people who do not jazz it up on Tuesday night will get the axe.
Oh my God.
Scary, right?
I'll be jazzing it up like crazy.
So that Tuesday, people started blaring jazz music. Clubs stayed open late. There was basic hysteria. Everybody was blasting the jazz music in the hopes that they would avoid the...
That's a good ploy to get people to play music.
So what do you think happened that night?
Nobody was killed.
Nobody was killed.
Oh.
So, but the attacks did continue until a few months later, where the axeman was credited with killing one last guy and then he disappeared. Some people say that he got caught for something else. Some people say that he left town. And some think that he was actually a demon. I don't know about this one. This is a very interesting case because basically you have the taunting, you have insinuations that this person is not of this earth, that they're a demon, and you have a warning. And for all intents and purposes, it worked.
Yeah.
He had all these people terrorized. They were doing exactly what he said, and I'm sure that he got a lot of pleasure from that.
You know, the actual crime itself reminds me of another famous axe murder, and that was the Valiska axe murder.
Yes,
in
we can talk about
Iowa.
that on another show.
That was an interesting case, but that was a similar murder in the sense that an axe wielding madman murdered a whole entire family as they slept in their farmhouse.
Also unsolved.
Yeah, correct.
That could be another whole show because not only do you have the horrible murders that took place, but then the Valiska axe murder house is now basically a tourist attraction that's supposedly very haunted.
Right, a lot of paranormal activity there.
Yeah, so that's something we can discuss on a future show. So you have the Mad Axeman of New Orleans, you have Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to get into just like really quickly that there's been a lot of these cases throughout the years. The Zodiac Killer could fill 10 shows. I'm not going to do that. It's too complicated of a story to include here. But basically, the Zodiac Killer was someone who killed supposedly at least 5, but potentially many more in the San Francisco area in the late 1960s, early 70s. He also sent many letters to the press and to the police. He included ciphers on some of them that he claimed if you solved them would reveal his identity. 3 of the 4 ciphers he sent were decrypted, but they did not reveal his identity. The fourth one was never solved. Did you know that there was one of the Zodiac Killer's ciphers was never
and I guess it took them some serious doing to be able to figure it out. It was pretty complex, I believe.
Well, one of them was solved by a history teacher, and then another one so they weren't solved by the police. A lot of them were solved by independent people who were looking into it. He used like a substitution cipher, and then there's a couple of actually there's a very good movie called Zodiac starring Jake Gyllenhaal. It came out in 2007, I believe, and it's got a number of stars in it. Robert Downey Jr. is in it. It's got a bunch of people like that. It's a very good movie. It's long. It's about 3 hours, but it's definitely worth viewing if you haven't seen it.
Covers the Zodiac Killer in depth.
Yes,
Hollywood style, though, of course.
Covers it. Yeah, it covers it in depth. It actually gives some suspects, and it leaves you, as you say, it leaves you thinking that it's one person when it actually may or may not be that person, but that they framed the movie to look like that.
I see.
So that's the Zodiac. The BTK killer, Dennis Rader, sent police letters taunting the police.
You know, I read a book on Dennis Rader, and man, what a twisted individual. Yeah. And you know what fascinates me? Not to cut you off. What fascinates me about serial killers in general is that how they go from a lot of times they go from nothing in terms of like committing these crimes,
right,
to like at some point something sets them off to the point where they're going to kill people,
right,
and then they develop their individual and signature style around that.
Now you've read about the BTK killer. Isn't it true that had he not contacted the authorities, that he probably would have never been caught? There was certain things that he said in his letters that led police to find him.
He became more and more brazen in his letters to authorities.
Right.
He basically bagged himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Again, another similar. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, who killed, I think he killed 3 or 4 people.
Hey, good show, documentary coming out on Unabomber on Discovery Channel next week.
Really?
Looks pretty good.
Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, went for years without being detected, and the only reason he was caught was he sent this huge manifesto to newspapers that he said that they needed to publish or he would blow more people up. They published it. And one of his relatives saw the writing and said, "Hey, that sounds like Ted."
Yeah.
And turns out it was Ted.
You know, there's not enough manifestos generated these days.
I haven't written a manifesto yet, but I may.
You should.
Son of Sam, who we discussed on a previous show, also sent letters to the police. The D.C. snipers, John Lee Malvo and John Allen Muhammad,
Yep.
Left death cards at the scene. Did you know that they left death cards? and also sent letters to authorities. So, why do these killers feel the need to contact police and or the press? Is it a need for attention, as some people claim? Do they need the sense of superiority that they get from taunting the authorities? Maybe they feel like by sensationalizing their crimes, they can terrorize more people, as you mentioned earlier. Or are they just trying to insert themselves into the investigation? What's the reason why they feel the need to contact? If they really didn't want to get caught, wouldn't they just stay below the radar?
One of the theories is that they eventually do want to get caught,
Right,
to stop their own reign of terror because they don't know how to control their emotions, their desires to kill people. So that's one theory. The other theory, very psychologically advanced theories of why people do these things. But like you said, yeah, an air of superiority, like I'm so good that you'll never catch me no matter what I do or what I say.
right. Well, it worked out for a couple of them.
Yeah.
Never caught the Axeman, never caught Jack the Ripper. So it didn't work out well for some of the others.
There's a number of, I forget what the actual statistics are, but active serial killers operating in the country as we speak right now.
Yeah, I think they said between 25 and 50 in the United States alone. That's a lot.
And yeah.
Considering that they're unknown. And then I've always discussed, we've discussed this off the air before, but if somebody was smart enough to simply change their method of operations, then their killings could go unnoticed for many, many years because it just keeps changing.
Yeah, I mean, there probably are some throughout history like that, but I think the majority of them, part of their psychological profile is that they get wrapped in a certain methodology,
right,
and that's what they do. That's what they're comfortable with.
Well, they
just like the average person, like you have your own habit and way of doing things, like certain ways that you get up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you have your own routine.
Yes.
I
do have routines.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much to the detriment of my family, who have to go into the bathroom after I've been in there. They don't like that.
You don't like let me ask you this. Do you, after you've, relieved yourself in a,
take care of my business
in a solid fashion, do you like to spray the floral arrangement around the bathroom?
Sometimes I find that the floral arrangement makes it worse.
It does.
The smell of poo and
potpourri. Poo and chrysanthemums.
I won't mention him on
lilacs.
I won't mention him on the air, but I used to have a roommate back in my early days who was a nice guy. Very nice, nice man.
Yep.
However, had this terrible habit of these horrible bowel movements that he would take.
Okay.
And then after he was done, he would gargle with Listerine. So when you go into the bathroom, you would smell this horrible mixture of just poo and Listerine. And
I think I know who you're referring to.
Whenever I smell Listerine to this day, I think of that individual.
Was didn't he spend hours on end in a bathroom?
No, that was somebody else.
Oh,
that was somebody else. No,
Oh.
This is we won't tell who it is.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's serial killers. Why they contact the police? We may never know.
We may never know. And I mean, like we can delve into each one of these cases more in depth because I find them quite interesting.
Sure.
Certain aspects and certain serial killer cases.
Yes.
Yep.
So before we wrap it up today, as I believe we're coming to the end of the program, I want to be able to give out the website.
Yeah.
It's TheEoNProject.com.
Yep.
It's TheEonProject.com. Also, you can contact us at TheEonProject@yahoo.com. We love to hear from you. Feedback, guest suggestions, whatever the case may be. We're working on some cool stuff coming up. We're looking at revamping the website a little bit. We got some guests that we're trying to line up right now to expand the horizons of the program.
That's true. We're slowly growing each and every day.
Every day.
Slowly, mind you.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like Mike stated at the beginning of the show, we have some international listeners, which we certainly appreciate, and plus all the listeners across the United States. And there's a few states on the map yet that we've yet to tick off, which I'm trying to
Idaho. Get on it, Idaho.
Trying to do that. So if you know anybody that lives in a different state than you do and you're listening, then send it out there, and I'd like to get some clicks and listens all across the world.
And we also appreciate ratings on iTunes, on the iTunes store. Every time you give us a rating or somebody gives us a rating and they give us a review, it actually increases our visibility. More people are able to see the show. We're going to be able to do more and exciting things with the program.
Yeah, and we're going to send prizes out.
You know what? We are working on potentially having prizes, giveaways, branded merchandise.
And if you're someone that has had a paranormal experience or knows somebody or has some good, interesting, mysterious stories that you'd like to share with us, we'd be more than happy to put you on and talk to you.
Right, not just ghosts or anything like that, but UFOs, any type of esoteric subject that you have experience with.
Don't feel intimidated. I know we come off as really, really intelligent.
All the time.
We know everything about everything.
Yep.
And it's tough to hold a candle to what some of the things we do here. But let it be known that we welcome all comers.
Yeah, if you want to talk about something that you're interested in, maybe you've done some research on, you don't have to be a published author or anything like that.
Definitely not.
Let us know. We'll have you on the show, and it'll be very fun and exciting.
That's right. So what are we going to talk about next week? Oh, you know what? We don't know for sure, but we'll tell you this. Because of the fact that we missed last week,
Yep.
We're going to be putting out another episode here very shortly on top of this one.
Yeah, we're going to do a bunch in a row.
We're going to try to keep cranking them out and hopefully not dilute any of the content in the process.
Every week is radio gold.
Gold.
Yep.
So remember, until next time, the truth exists. Believe it.